NAIA football is the true version of what college football is supposed to be. And it is the best classroom experience an 18 to 22-year-old male can have. One of the most valuable parts of a college education is that experience. It's life in a microcosm, and it's just something special for young men to have to experience.
And don't you let a moment go without thinking about what's there for you to reach out and grasp.
Welcome into the Victory Sports Network. I'm your host, Jason Dannelly, and this is NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. Appreciate you checking out the show tonight as we get set to recap the semifinal action of the NAIA Football Championship Series. It was a heck of a weekend. We had two great games. One, obviously, coming down to the wire. If you're watching this show, you already know what happened in that game. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. We're going to preview the NAIA Football Championship game in a few minutes here. Go through both the teams' rosters, look at who they've played this year, compare all the stats. We're doing all that on the show tonight. Of course, I can't do it without the co-host of this program. His name is Pat Donnelly. Pat, welcome in. Nice to have you back. Pretty decent football this weekend.
We had one unbelievable game, and then we had a game that, man, looked like a Grandview football game if I've ever seen one.
It was a Grandview special, baby.
Grandview special, kind of more of the same at a very high level situation, obviously being the semifinals. But looking at hearing the Coach Van D speech, something so close for these teams to reach out and grasp. It's right here, and I tell you what, it's a quick turnaround, Jason. We used to have that week in between where these teams could really kind of dot I's and cross T's with not just game plan, not just that, but also your travel and all those different details and get tickets for families. And boy, it's a quick turnaround, and it's a different situation even that I've experienced coaching the national championship. So this is definitely different than it's been last year.
Yeah, my assumption would be a Wednesday takeoff or Wednesday evening arrival for both teams in Thursday, Friday, game Saturday, out Saturday night or Sunday, depending on. So it is a quick turnaround when you think about, it's Sunday night right now. You got 2 days, and then you're doing all the stuff to get there and get back, even if maybe you're not taking off until Thursday morning on a chartered flight or whatever. Like it's a quick turnaround and get yourself going for this championship game.
These coaches started late last night, Jason. As soon as their games were over, I can guarantee you that's one of the benefits them both being at home. Grandview and Keiser, they just go right back in the football office. Hey, hug the wives and kids goodbye. It's time to work again. I'm telling you, there's probably not a whole lot of free time for those guys on a Saturday evening enjoying that win, because this turnaround is insane. It reminds me a little bit of the NFL having that quick turnaround Thursday night games.
Yeah.
Not quite that dramatic, but at the same time, Jason, like you said, the travel, you've got to get a national championship game plan done, installed, practice, travel. And again, not to mention, you have to figure out all of your travel arrangements with hotels and planes and charter buses. And when you land, it's a lot of stuff. So I think the teams that the team that will handle that will certainly have an edge too.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome week. We're going to break down last weekend's game here momentarily and talk more about it. So we'll get into all of this and talk about. But for those of you that just tune in to this show and have no idea what's happening in NAIA football, first of all, who are you people? Second of all, we've got Keiser, obviously defeated Benedictine. Grandview defeated Morningside. So Grandview and Keiser playing in the championship game. Let's just get into the breakdown of everything here, Pat, as we get the opportunity, obviously, to see these games live yesterday. Big thanks, obviously, to Keiser and Grandview for their live broadcast yesterday. I was able to watch both of those. But then last night and this morning, I had my video up on Huddle going through, getting a second look at things. And that second look, very helpful to understand, what led to some of the things that happened in both of these games. We love Huddle. It's been great for us to be able to utilize this the second half of the season.
To go back down the back and replay multiple times, and the key plays in these games are essential, Jason, to kind of give proper analysis, and definitely have some notes and looking forward to talking about these games. But Huddle has come in the clutch for us this year, certainly with some of the issues we had throughout the year. But watching these games live was great, but the Huddle film, the Coaches All 22, is fantastic.
We'll pull up Grandview and Morningside here first, even though they were the later game, because I think we're going to be talking about Keiser and Benedictine a little bit more just because of the action that happened in this. And I called this and you called it too, a Grandview special game. I mean, this was Grandview, and it's like every time you see Grandview playing a top 25 team, things start off and okay, it's 7-0. Grandview did something at the start of this game I really haven't seen them do, and that's jump out to that 7-0 lead, 4 plays, 75 yards, got the big touchdown, got up 7-0. Morningside then came back. They were driving down the field and had kind of an opportunity after they got across midfield. I think it was 3rd and 8. Chevalier had a little scramble, went into a slide, and it brought up a 4th and 1. And Grandview was able to stuff Morningside on that 4th and 1. And that was kind of the start of the Grandview special, as I call it. Like, all right, they stopped them there. We kind of went back and forth on a couple drives. Morningside really didn't get a lot accomplished. Grandview didn't get a lot accomplished. Then Grandview gets that second score. They go up 14-0. All right, then all of a sudden it's 21-0. And you and I have seen this enough that we're going 21-0 against Grandview in the first half. Like, they are just going to pack it in. Their defense is going to continue to attack you, not give up any big plays, and this game is going to get, eventually lulled to sleep. Now, credit to Morningside for bringing it back, getting a little closer, 23-13 in the third quarter there before, Grandview was able to kind of pull away with those last scores.
Grandview plays to their strengths very well in that they're going to lean on the defense. But I'll tell you, I was very impressed, like you mentioned, Jason, the first quarter, the aggressive nature that Grandview came out. The first touchdown was awesome. Great play pass, play action, shot play. I'm guessing it was 60-plus, I believe. Waring threw an absolute dime on it. Talking about Waring, maybe the game of his season. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. He was asked to do a lot yesterday, Jason. And I don't know if they've – I'm not going to just go crazy and talk about the competition level that Grandview's seen all year, but they brought all the stops out yesterday. Tons of quarterback run, designed +1 running game for Waring. There were opportunities for Morningside to make plays in the backfield on Waring on some protection issues, one-on-one, where Waring's sitting there dead to rights and a blitzing linebacker can't bring him down. He's athletic. He avoided a rush numerous times throughout this game and made plays just by his athleticism. I thought he had a tremendous game, a National Player of the Year type game, honestly, Jason. We'll talk about these two quarterbacks that won yesterday. I think both were brilliant, and Waring was fantastic. He is a physical specimen, Jason, 6'3", 225.
Yep.
Runs exceptionally well. He can really move and throws a great football and understands their system well. So you have a quarterback playing this well with an outstanding defense. That's Grandview's MO. That's the way they play to win football games. That's why they're 13-0. And like we talk about just an old Grandview football game, that's what happened yesterday. Great defensive performance, and Waring was fantastic. So 36-13 going to the national championship.
Yeah, and to piggyback on some of your thoughts there on Waring, I mean, I talked to you about it in the pre-show. At times, like, Waring was dodging linebackers like a prize fighter, just ducking the head, getting the shoulder through, finding his way, to get to that little extra space and deliver the pass or go for a run. He had a couple really nice runs, a 58-yard run that set up a touchdown. He just, he's very athletic, and he does a lot of things really right for Grandview. And again, Grandview is one of those teams, and I think it happens to us sometimes. You watch Grandview, and you watch the way they win, and their defense makes other teams look ugly. They make them make mistakes. They don't make a lot of mistakes on offense. Yesterday, they kind of opened things up a little bit more, but largely in the second half, they weren't doing anything sexy with their offense. You just kind of watching like, these guys are undefeated and second best team in the country right now going to the championship. Like, they don't look all that. Well, they're impressive because they just execute. And that's what I love about them. They're a hard-nosed football team. And I also feel like, and I can say, I know Joe Woodley. I don't know Joe Woodley well. Like, we're not texting buddies. We don't call one another, but I've seen enough interviews with him. I've heard him talk enough to say, this is a football team that reflects the attitude and the aura of their head coach, like just in the way they play. It's kind of awesome to see.
Tough and physical, no doubt. I know Coach is kind of a tough guy, and I think, like you said, like, take on the identity of their head coach. I'm with you on that. And again, they played to their strengths very, very well. Morningside had a tough time matching up on the perimeter with Grandview. Grandview's cover people are very, very good. Their box, the front seven, the pass rush, they're very, very good. They're very sound. They run well. And again, where you kind of think Morningside, I think their scheme is fantastic. I mean, the Steve Ryan system is fantastic, but you still have to get some separation to make some completions. And I thought Grandview just locked down receivers for the vast majority of the day and made things very difficult. And you don't run it on them. First and foremost, you don't run it on them. So you're forced to have to throw. And then the cover people are like, man, that corner's good. He can lock you up in man-to-man and just forget about it. It's over.
Well, and I really feel like in a lot of games this year, even in the postseason, when Morningside was running that wide receiver screen, in previous games, they were getting 6-7 yards on that screen, and it would set up a 2nd and 3, a 3rd and 3. Well, now they're getting 4 or 5 yards on that, setting up a 2nd and 5, 3rd and 6, and they were just that's exactly what Grandview wants. We'll give you 4 there. Now you're going to try to run the ball for one of these first downs, and when you used to get 5, you're going to get 2, and it's going to bring up 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and that I guess that's just the difference between having a secondary at the caliber of what Grandview plays at versus, maybe what Morningside has seen over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, you mentioned that receiver screen, and you're probably being generous a couple times, Jason. I think a couple times they're like a yard gain.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, because the perimeter, the DBs, the outside linebacker that's playing the slot, the corner, just play off blocks so well and gang tackle. And then the linebackers run sideline to sideline. The defensive ends are run sideline to sideline to tackle those perimeter screens, the RPO game, all those different things that that Morningside does so well. I mean, Grandview is just a speed defense, physical, tackle well. I mean, you don't see many missed tackles with them. Just play a clean game. Again, they know how to play to their strengths. Great defense, and let Waring be a great athlete and distributor of the football and be a runner. That's what they did yesterday.
No, and you got to understand, like, that Morningside offense, there's some All-Americans on there. At the quarterback, a couple on the offensive line. I will go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. The wide receiver that did not get an All-American position on the AFCA team, he will have one on the Victory Sports Network team. Drew Sellin, one of the leading wide receivers in the country. I mean, and we'll explain that whole AFCA, NAIA All-American team. There are, restrictions that go with that. So sometimes when a team's got 4 or 5 real good players, they're only getting 2 or 3 on the All-American team. But, Drew Sellin yesterday, 12 catches, 155 yards, kind of the day that he normally has, got in the end zone one time. But the rest of those wide receivers, just it wasn't happening for them. They just weren't able to overcome that great Grandview defense that we saw. And Grandviewed it up. I mean, make the shirt for the defense. Grandview's going to Grandview you.
They have a way to their success. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm looking. We'll break it down, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they match up with Keiser. All right, let's get into this game. Holy crap, Pat! First of all the love in the world to Grandview and Morningside. You played a great game. Your game was not as good as this game. This game was tremendous. This is one of those games where you're like, I wish there was a professional broadcast done of it so you could take it to an ESPN or Fox Sports and say, hey, could you put this on at like 11 p.m. on a Tuesday so football nerds could watch it nationally for free? And they go, holy crap, like that happened? This was a tremendous football game, Pat. And we were talking pre-show, and you said it. Just feel sick for the Benedictine kids.
Sick for them.
Yeah.
Game. I mean, the way they came out and played and established the lead, talk about the second half. I'm not going to go there yet, but I mean, this game, there was a point, Jason. I'm sure you're aware of this. It's 38-21.
21
minutes to go.
Yeah. 38-21, 7 minutes left. I've got family here this weekend, and I was watching it. They obviously don't really know who's playing or whatever. And I'm like, this one's going to be tough to come back from. And they do. I'm like, holy cow.
I know you're a gambling guy. You have those percentages of victory, like in a portion of a game. If you're doing like the play-by-play. You're following the game play-by-play.
Yeah.
It was probably in the 70s or 80s at that point. Then literally just flipped on a dime and switched.
Mm-hmm.
It was an incredible game. I don't know if you want to start from the very beginning.
Let's start from the beginning on this one.
Yeah. First off, crazy day because you think you're going to Florida. You're escaping the Midwest. You get crazy winds and rain sideways in South Florida. So the weather was a major factor, I thought, first and foremost.
Yeah, I'm watching the broadcast before it comes up, and I'm watching on the near sideline. There's a couple athletic trainers down there, and there's a couple females didn't have their hair bunned up, and you're seeing it just blow to the side.
Oh,
and I'm watching that going, okay, better pull up the weather real quick for West Palm Beach. I'm like, oh, it's a windy one today, isn't it?
It's a 35, 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah. There's some pretty big gusts, to say the least, in that one yesterday. But yeah, like you're saying,
I was going to say, the special teams was literally like an episode of The Gong Show every single time.
Yep.
You never know what's going to happen. You could bomb a field goal from 55 with no problem, but also have an 8-yard punt going the other way. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, and that weather did help out Benedictine a little bit in the first quarter. They got the short field a couple times, and they ended up getting a 46 and a 34-yard field goal going with the wind to get those knocked through. So they did take that 6-0 advantage early on. And hindsight being what it was, it's like, gosh, if you could have got one of those more first downs, a chance for a touchdown, it's a different outcome of the game. But you take field goals, you take the points there before Keiser was able to get on the board there 7-6 early in the second with about 8:50 left to play.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of crazy that, I love Coach Russ, but he was incredibly aggressive backed up in that situation. It's a fourth and at least a yard, Jason. And the Ravens absolutely stuffed a full house backfield, hand to Andrew Burnett, the 6'2", 225 guy straight ahead, and met him in the hole and drove him back.
Yep.
And got the ball, I think, Jason, plus 25, plus 20. I mean, it was really –
yeah.
It was inside it was tighter than the 30, I think, wasn't it? It was kind of maybe an emotional situation for Coach Russ, like, man, we're going to get this first down. And holy smokes, kind of gave him a short field. But kudos to Benedictine. I thought their defense the first half.
Yeah, 28-yard line is where they're at looking at the play-by-play.
I'm watching this, I go, Coach Russ is, man, he's got some stones on him, man.
Cojones.
But man, oh man, really good defensive performance, I thought, starting the game. The first quarter, I thought Benedictine was brilliant in how they took away the run game. There was no run game at all for Keiser. That's their bread and butter, obviously. And it has been for so long, and they did an exceptional job defending the first quarter. And just, Keiser was kind of out of sync, I thought, in general. But kind of looking back on it, Jason, I think it was going, as you're watching the game, going from right to left, going into the wind was an issue for both teams. Yeah. So the first quarter, Keiser had to deal with it. Benedictine, kicked the long field goals, had some, a little bit more going offensively. Keiser couldn't get a thing going in that first quarter. Going into the wind, you kind of figure it out after the fact. Even the broadcast is like, just the Seahawks don't seem like themselves, and drop balls, and just the 4th and 1 they just absolutely slammed on. Because you kind of wonder, was it some of the weather as you kind of get through and watch the game a little bit more. But I thought that first quarter was all Ravens, in my opinion.
Yeah. It really was, defensively, offensively. Offensively in this game, Benedictine did some really nice things. Some of those in the first half as we're talking here. But they did benefit. All of their points in the first half came from getting that short field, getting the 2 field goals, and then kind of that muffed punt that they were able to get for the touchdown as we were getting ready to go into half to tie the thing up at 14 apiece. So they were the benefactors of a little bit of good fortune in the first half to keep this one, even. But I really liked what Benedictine was doing. And going back to that 4th and 1 where they stopped him on the 28, that was one of those statement things. I think Coach Russ and Keiser was going to make a statement like, we're a run team. You're not stopping our run. And Benedictine was saying, we didn't come down here to lose. And Benedictine got the better of that one. So it was an awesome part of the game, and it just led to the great things that we saw for the rest of this one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't know if you want to jump in and start talking about the second half already, but I mean, I guess the second quarter.
Well, second quarter, so Averhart catches a 39-yard pass from Shea Spencer. That's their first score. The second score, Burnett gets in on a 3-yard run on a short drive, three plays, 21 yards. And then, of course, it talked about the fumble recovery in the end zone. I mean, that was kind of the second quarter jumping through it. But, your thoughts is on that second quarter as you went through it.
I thought Spencer was brilliant. I'm gonna talk, especially about the third quarter, kind of getting things going. If you're, Keiser, didn't score in the third quarter, but extended some plays, started the fourth quarter, scored more points. But I thought Spencer was brilliant extending plays when he didn't have an open receiver, when he's hitting his back foot, he's reading the concept, it's not there. He would stick a foot in the ground and go and pick up huge first downs. I thought in the second, third, and the beginning of the fourth quarter with his legs were brilliant. And he made the throws that he had to. I will say this. I thought Benedictine, really played kind of it was a lot of passive coverage looks where they're trying to keep things in front. Still play a stout run defense, but yet, they're going to play more. They play a lot of zone in situations where Spencer saw zone. He threaded the needle a lot in this game, Jason. I thought the first touchdown they scored in the second quarter was definitely done that way. I'll be honest with you, watching this game and watching Spencer, if I'm coaching him, if I'm his quarterback coach and I'm watching film, I'm going, great ball. Yeah, it was in a window that big.
Yeah, you knew exactly where it was going. Good job.
You're placing that ball between the safety and the linebacker. Oh, yeah, it worked. It's like there wasn't like necessarily high percentage throws, but he was making them. And I thought it was exceptional second quarter. And again, with the wind at their back, I think it was a little easier from the throw. But he was just an all-around great football player yesterday. Delivered the ball when he had people open, but when he hit his back foot, boom, ball was gone, delivered well and accurate. When he didn't have it, he took off and made something out of nothing a lot. So I think we talk about the great quarterback play of these two victorious teams yesterday. Spencer was brilliant, I thought.
Yeah, 10 carries, 72 yards, a lot of that making something out of nothing. He got banged up in this game. I'm going to wait to talk about that. I'm also going to wait to kind of give my thoughts on Shea Spencer here because my adoration will probably sicken some people, but it's the kid freaking played, man. Okay. Third quarter. Benedictine, 14 points in the quarter. They actually scored 3 times in a row. They scored right at the start of the fourth, but got the scoring going early. In the third quarter, 13-18 left to play, 4-play, 50-yard drive, capped off by a 38-yard touchdown pass from Dooley. And we talked about last week, I really felt like the wide receivers for Benedictine may be the best ones that Keiser has seen all year, and they may give the best opportunity to be able to get behind those DBs. And Gathright was able to. They were able to do it a couple times, getting behind guys to make those big plays, and Benedictine was able to extend their lead.
No doubt. Yeah, they could really run. And that probably the first time in a few weeks that, Keiser's like, there's speed coming at us. And they got behind him, like you said. Great play action concept. Got behind the corner and the safety coming over to help Gathright on that big touchdown in the third quarter. Beautiful ball by Dooley. I thought Dooley was absolutely fantastic in the third. I thought he was awesome. And he was asked to carry the ball a few times as well. Extending plays, keeping the chains moving when he didn't have an opportunity for a throw. Great coverage. He's going to take off and make something happen. He did the same thing. I thought both these quarterbacks were great. In particular, Dooley in the third quarter, I thought was brilliant. The 2 touchdown throws. Gathright is a legitimate player. The Todd kid from
Deshaun Todd, yep.
Fantastic. I mean, they really have some weapons. I'm very, very impressed. And we talked about how just sad you are for this team. I mean, they did everything they could and threw haymakers to win this game. I mean, they did everything in their power to make this a great football game and had the lead. And the third quarter was brilliant from the Ravens.
Yeah, they're leading 31-21 at the end of the third. Kicked a field goal, or excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself here. They led 28-14 at the end of 3. Kicked a field goal at the start of the fourth. They're up 31-14, and you're sitting there looking at that going 17 points fourth quarter. That's going to be tough to do that, and it got even worse then. But the fourth quarter started, and Rufino Van Gates was able to get a 28-yard pass from Shea Spencer, capping off a 6-play, 67-yard drive. It was a very, again, great decision making by Spencer. A very nice drive going with the wind in the fourth quarter to get things a little closer at 31-21.
Not to get too far ahead of myself, I would tell you this, Jason. I think if Benedictine wins this game, Xavier Yorgi, is that how you say his name, the running back?
Ugorji.
One of the best runs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like literally, it looked like a 5-yard loss. He has to break 5 tackles from the Seahawks and goes for 54-yard touchdown. The start of the fourth was unbelievable. One of the best runs I have ever seen in a football game. I mean, it's like SportsCenter top 5 if they win.
Yeah.
I think it's probably not for that reason, but I mean, I had to bring that up. I wrote that down as one of the best plays I've seen all year. If folks go back and watch that run, someone needs to YouTube clip that thing. I mean, that was a run for the ages. That was brilliant. It looks like a 5-yard loss. Like he has to bounce it outside because the pursuit's there, makes a couple of people miss in the backfield, like on the edge, and then he makes the linebacker miss. Here comes the safety. He makes him miss, breaks the tackle, and he goes 54 yards for a touchdown. That's absolutely brilliant. I encourage everyone to try to find that play on the live stream. It's absolutely awesome.
So you talking about that play brings up like that is the play that made it 38-21 with 7:38 left. And I was watching the game and I did this. I was like, they just broke their back on that 100%. Play. 7:38 left. It ain't gonna happen. I know Keiser's got some weapons, but it's going to be really tough down 17 with under 7 to play. And buckle up because Keiser put together a final 7 minutes of this ball game that is one for the ages. Holy cow. And it started off, first of all, there was times this year watching Keiser film, watching some of their games that DeAndre Golden, their tight end, was in the game, made some plays. You saw he was there. But there wasn't a game where he just took it over. And the last 7 minutes of this game, he found his way open. He took over the game, and he scored the first touchdown in the comeback with 5:50 left. A little 14-yard pass from Spencer, capped off a 65-yard drive that took $1.48 off the clock. DeAndre Golden last year was an All-American as a tight end. He didn't make it on the AFCA team. Don't know where he'll fall on the VSN team. He'll be in there somewhere. But I thought he looked really good, and Shea Spencer had a lot of trust in finding where he was and just getting the ball there.
It's the old cliche, the tight end's a safety blanket for quarterbacks, and he certainly was. Golden was brilliant. And I thought the ball placement was where it had to be, but there were tough catches for Golden too. Again, Benedictine did a pretty decent job, Jason. I think their approach was the right one in that you can see offensively they're trying to grind the clock. Okay, it's a lot of first and second down running game, maybe third down run pass option for a high percentage throw, just to maintain possession and grind the clock. Okay, when they give the ball back. So again, you're talking 3 scores, Jason. Benedictine's playing passive defense, just trying to keep everything in front, play sound, strong zone defense. It's a lot of Tampa 2. For football nerds, I mean, essentially your Mike linebackers playing the middle third. You're playing a umbrella coverage, very passive in the back end, kind of a bend, don't break, tough to find windows. And Spencer found them. And I thought Golden did a great job matching up on the linebackers, finding space. And Spencer delivered into that coverage time and time again. And we'll talk about the game-winning touchdown here in a few minutes. It was the exact same coverage and thread the needle in the hole and behind the corner outside the safety for the game-winning touchdown. But yeah, I thought Spencer was absolutely brilliant, and Golden being a huge part of that too. You can see the comfort they have. Those guys, they spent all summer throwing routes on air, and just you can see the rapport that those guys have, and they were just absolutely fantastic as a tandem. Those last couple drives and just incredible. Plays that were made.
Specifically on that drive, a 21-yard pass to DeAndre Golden. Van Gates then had a 16-yard catch, and then Golden for the 14-yard touchdown. Benedictine gets the ball back, 5:50 left to play, and they went 3 and out essentially. They ended up having to punt and kicked it down to the Keiser 16. And that's when Keiser took back over with 4:03 left to play in this game. And first play coming out, DeAndre Golden for a 19-yard catch. And we saw the same thing as they just kind of dinked it down the field. They were able to get to, Portia, down to the 27. They were able to get it first and goal. And That's when Shea Spencer got the ball, got a little pressure, ran, got into the end zone. They called it a fumble before the goal line, and it was recovered by Roderick Carter, their All-American offensive lineman. So technically, Carter gets the touchdowns, but Spencer was the one that was able to run it in and get the score, and that makes it now 38-25, and we've got, what's our time on the clock? 1:54 when Benedictine gets it back. Great drive by Keiser, and buckle up, $1:54 left. If Benedictine can get themselves, a couple first downs or a first down here and eat up all of Kaiser's timeouts, they can make some magic happen.
Yeah. Was it? I'm trying to think how many plays that they had. They got to punt it back to him. Was it 3 and out, Jason?
I'm just looking here. There was a run. Yeah, it was a 3 and out essentially is what it was, because
I think the Keiser drive, the final drive, still started -20, -25, something.
Yeah, -25 is where they started. Yeah, the -25.
And it wasn't many plays, Jason. I mean, it was clockwork. I mean, finding goal in the middle of the field, getting up and killing the clock in a 2-minute situation. I thought that was brilliant. You see Shea Spencer and the coaching staff and the whole offensive group just absolutely like clockwork, a 2-minute drill. Getting to the line quickly, even Jason, saving time and getting the ball spiked. And I thought it was just fantastic. Very well coached, very well executed. And Shea Spencer, being the player that he is, and having to make throws, Jason, that are not easy. And again, football nerds out there, you talk about it, a Tampa 2, passive looks. There's not many high percentage holes in that coverage. And Spencer found them in the game-winning touchdown. Was just absolutely brilliant. Just drilled in the sideline. We call it the hole, in behind the corner, outside the safety in that cover 2, back in. I think, what was the distance? I think, Jason, was a 17, 18-yard touchdown.
It was 25 for the game winner, yeah.
Yeah, probably caught it, and I think broke a tackle into the end zone. Who scored the last touchdown, Jason? I'm sorry.
Elijah Edwards.
Edwards, just awesome. And just what a throw. First off, to make the throw into the look, and then the trajectory that he has to place the ball. And again, it's a weather game. The ball's wet, it's still windy out, and he drills that ball in that situation and essentially wins the game. I mean, what a game. What a game. What a final drive. What a fourth quarter. I mean, fourth quarter for the ages. I mean, Keiser won the football game. You feel sick for Benedictine. They did things so well. But they played a great game. And again, a weird weather game. Played as well as you possibly can and not coming out with a victory. So it's weird to say that, but I can say that without any hesitation. I believe they played as good as you can play and didn't end up winning the game. It's bizarre saying that.
Yeah.
Thought they coached it well. I thought Benedictine, I'm going to give Coach Osborne a lot of credit, and this is just, again, football nerd stuff. I think formationally what they did, I think their trade shifts, all the things that they do, created some issues for Keiser. A lot of just processing and how to line up, and had some good run game stuff that they did. And I thought he got the receivers when he had the weather conditions, the wind at his back. He was really smart how he would tack vertically and got those receivers going. I thought Dooley was great when he had the wind at his back. I think it was really challenging, going the other way. Back to guys, they won the game, but man, just a classic semifinal game. It takes me back to so many great ones over the years, Jason. But to me, this is as good as I've seen, and what a classic, especially the final.
And I'll back up to that final drive, and there's a few other things I kind of want to get to, but I really feel like that final drive, Spencer almost set it up with Golden as a decoy on the final play. So that final drive, it's 11 yards to Golden, then another 11 yards to Golden, then 28 yards to DeAndre Golden, and that got him down to the 25-yard line. And on the final play, Golden was going to the middle of the field, and I think that safety just maybe took a half step over, because we've been going to this guy all day, and then they hit Edwards on the outside corner. He gets into the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, kind of rope-a-doped him there a little bit, get him cheat just a little bit, and credit to Shea Spencer for seeing it, knowing what he's doing, just being, the ultimate leader. Backing up to the drive before that, I know that we've got some fans that hit me up on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it in different places. They had questions about the holding penalty that Benedictine had called on them on 3rd and 11 that got declined, and then they punted away. There were some saying like, well, the clock should have been running there. The declined penalty, clock should run. Clock rules inside 2 minutes. They get the option, if you are the trailing team or whatever, you can decline the penalty and have the clock started on the snap of the ball or on the referee's ready signal there. So that is in the rule book. And then even I thought in the post game, if you go to Benedictine's website, look at their game story, there's a post game interview with Coach Osborne, and he just, they had that option. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. So there was a little rumbling like, oh, the refs screwed that one up. They did not. They absolutely did not. This was a well played game and everything there. So kind of
backing a couple other calls that weren't good though, Jason. But that one they didn't get wrong.
There's a couple in both games. There's a couple in both games. Going back to the Morningside Grandview game, Morningside had one where I think it was about on the 5-yard line. Wide receiver's going to get it, and he is just getting tackled over and no call. But we detracting from where I'm trying to go here.
We need to remind officials the ground can't cause fumbles.
Yes.
The Shea Spencer, the second field goal drive that Benedictine had was a fumble by Shea Spencer that he literally dove forward. The ball hit the ground as he dove and came out, and they called a fumble. I mean, ground can't cause a fumble. That was a bad one. And I felt so bad for the Benedictine defensive hold on the interception. Had no bearing on the interception. It was a different route that was thrown. And if that doesn't get called, I mean, Benedictine's getting the ball 25-yard line. They return it down. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of those, and again, it's the right call. I'm not saying that, but it had no bearing on the outcome of that particular play, that defensive hold. So, there's a couple of them like that I thought were unique. But back to that final drive, you hit the nail on the head, Jason. I think Spencer is so in tune with her system. And again, he's just, dialing up Golden after, time and time again. Especially in that 2 deep coverage, there's so much opportunity in the hash mark area. Those tight ends like to work middle of the third of the field, around the linebacker, that type of thing. And he just found himself open so many times. The ball placement was where it was, just perfect. And then, like you said, decoying, using him as a decoy, of holding that safety. And you can see also, too, Spencer does a good job using his eyes of holding that safety there, then drilling that, that hole shot in behind the corner, then outside the safety for the touchdown. So, just what a game, man. Just fantastic. It takes me back to a lot of great classic games in the semifinals. To me, I think you have the best games. Obviously, it makes sense. You're in the Final Four. They have the best games in this round for sure. I mean, it's kind of classic as you go back over and over again. I mean, sometimes these games are even better than the national championship. I don't think it's going to be the case this year. I think this is a really great matchup that we'll have. But this game in South Florida yesterday was fantastic.
Yeah, and I want to back up and talk about Shea Spencer now. One of our viewers is kind of getting ahead of it on some of the chat comments here. But Keiser takes over 13-13 left to play in the fourth quarter. Spencer's the quarterback. Spencer gets rolled up on a 1st and 10. There's a penalty called, pass interference and roughing the passer. He gets his left leg rolled up on, has to leave the game for 3 plays when Damari Charlton comes in, has a 7-yard run, and then also a 9-yard pass that he completes before. Shea Spencer comes in after being out from injury and then delivers a 28-yard bullet to Van Gates for the touchdown. And right there, you kind of talk about like Heisman moments. If we had a name, player of the year, that's one of those like player of the year moments. Like you see him come back, you see him power through the fourth quarter, obviously is hurt. You can see it on his runs and how he's getting around, that he's playing, with some pain out there, and just the guts on that kid to come through, be the leader they needed in the fourth quarter, finish with 412 yards, 4 touchdowns, only throws 1 pick. I mean, this was a fantastic, career-defining game that Shea Spencer had, and he still got one more. That's a big one to come up, and that it's a game that he's going to be hungry for, because as we go through the history of Keiser quarterbacks in the championship game, Shea Spencer was their starter a couple years ago. He gets hurt. They play in the championship game, with their backup. Last year, they have a quarterback play the entire year. He gets hurt. They play with Justin Wake in the championship game. They have the backup play, and to see him get dinged up I don't know injury status. Is there anything like that? But I hope for him and his story and the closure of his college career that he gets the opportunity to play in that championship game come Saturday. I can say I've always thought Spencer was a really good quarterback, did some really good things for Keiser. Watching him perform over the last 3-4 weeks in the postseason, he's really got my vote for, one of the best, just all-around quarterbacks that the NAIA has seen from a championship team. I mean, we talked about it last week. He reminded us of Tyler Emmert from Carroll College. And watching that yesterday, just watching how he played, delivered some of those throws, said, yep, he still looks like that kid.
Totally agree. I think we talked about a little bit last week. We talked about the National Player of the Year. I think there was still debate of who would that player be. And I think the 4 quarterbacks that performed yesterday were the final 4, in my opinion, if I had to guess. And I think they all, in their own right, had moments, certainly. I thought Waring was great. I thought Dooley had his moments, especially in the third quarter for Benedictine. I thought he was brilliant. But Spencer, top to bottom, I thought had the best day of the 4 quarterbacks. Just what he had to do, the situation. Waring wasn't stressed like Spencer was as much, and obviously the situation. But Spencer had to deliver in huge, huge scenarios. I mean, my goodness. And honestly, Jason, like I said, if I'm coaching quarterbacks, I go, oh, Shay, it worked. Like windows that were extreme. Yeah. Like coaches are going to have a stroke as you're releasing the football into the look, into the the coverage, and it worked. And I tell you what, one of my favorite things about him, Jason, I think his understanding of what he's looking at is exceptional. But the other thing too is like he pulls the trigger, man, and there's no hesitation. When he's going to make a throw, he is going to throw. There's no second guessing. He makes the throw on time that he needs to, or he can extend it and make a play, or he takes off and gets positive yards. That's what he does. That's what I love about him. He's a guy that's always doing the right things. It seems to be, at least from watching the film. And there is no hesitation in his decision making. Those throws he made when it came down to the wire, not many people make, or maybe even attempt. And the ball placement into wind and those sort of things were just brilliant. So if I had a vote for the National Player of the Year, which I do not, I would vote Shea Spencer from what I've seen, especially the last 3 weeks.
Fortunately, you do for the Victory Sports Network Player of the Year.
There you go.
So there you go. All right, I'll mark that one down for you. Yeah. Hey, one thing I did want to bring up, because this did get brought up in the chat, Keiser weather game. Grandview also played in weather yesterday. It was freezing rain, sleeting the whole game, practically frozen field. We're both Midwest guys. So, we saw that yesterday. We're like, yeah, that's just what you play in this time of year. Like, you're used to it. So, not to take anything away from the weather in that game either. But it was sketchy in the Midwest in our parts yesterday, where I live, especially talking with friends back in Omaha and through Des Moines. Freezing rain, weather, watching the videos of cars trying to go uphill and then they just spin out and go back down. It was one of those days in the Midwest yesterday. So
yeah, for sure. We're just used to the Midwest, like you said, Jason. The other thing too, it's like, I will say this: if you're throwing a football, I'd rather be snowing than rain.
Yeah,
so
100%.
It was weird yesterday. Did you look at the temperature yesterday? I don't know where it was in Fargo. Here in Fort Wayne, it was like 33, 32, 31. It's pouring down rain, but it's like, if this is any colder, this is like a foot of snow.
Yeah.
So I think it was like that all the way through. I mean, I live in the same essentially latitude as Des Moines, and I think it just came this way and just stayed right about just above freezing, so it wouldn't be snow. So.
All right, let's move on. We're putting a pin in what happened last week. Let's talk about what's coming up this Saturday, the NAIA Football National Championship game. It is on Saturday. Durham, North Carolina is where they'll be at, noon Eastern kickoff. We'll talk about where you can watch it and everything here in just a little bit. Keiser taking on Grandview, both teams undefeated. And really, if we don't have that whole respect thing that coaches do, which is good, they have respect for one another. These two teams are probably number 1 and number 2 all season long. Northwestern started the season at number 2. After their loss, they fell out. These teams are number 1 and number 2 for the rest of the season. And this is the matchup that, even though it was kind of tough and you kind of wondered a little bit how we'd get here, this was when the playoff pairings came out, the postseason pairings came out, this was what was on track to happen, and it happened. And I'm more than happy to see these two squads link it up in what is a rematch of a national championship, or a rematch of a semifinal game, if I remember right, from just a couple years ago. So
Keiser flew up to Des Moines, I believe, right?
Yep, I believe that is correct.
2 years ago, yeah. No, I think this is a great matchup, and you have an unbelievable defense with the Vikings and Grandview, and you have Shea Spencer now. And I am praying that young man's healthy, that he can go out and play in his final college game. That offense versus that defense, man, what a matchup! That's going to be a blast to watch, Jason. And then you flip it around. I think the way Waring and that offense is playing, efficient. Waring is going to put the Superman cape on and do everything for them. Run the football, make the timely throws, avoid pressure, extend plays. Be the physical specimen that he is. And he's going to ask to do all those things. He's going to be asked to do that time and time again in this national championship. So it's going to be a blast to watch, man. I think this is just fantastic. Fantastic
match. It's going to be great. We get an opportunity, look at Keiser's stats here. You see Grandview's stats here. Well, let's just make it easy for everybody. Let's just compare them across the board. Both teams undefeated, both scoring about 40 points per game. That Grandview defense at 8.5 points per game. Keiser giving up a little more than that. Both teams, you give the total offense maybe a little over to Keiser on the edge there. Rushing game, pretty close, but we've seen what Keiser can do with their rushing game. It's definitely, stronger. I feel like it's much more of a focal point of their offense running with their tailbacks than what Grandview's is. Passing offense, edge to Keiser there. Total defense, though, it all goes to Grandview. A lot of that has to deal with some of the competition that they faced earlier in the year. But they put up some numbers in the postseason against some of the best of the NAIA as well. They've shut down the run. They can shut down the pass. Two pretty evenly matched teams, I'd say, Pat, looking at the stats going into the championship game.
No question. And I think Spencer is the key factor in this game, because I will say this, Jason, if this Grandview team this year played the Keiser team from last year, advantage Grandview, because I don't think the quarterback play that they did, that Keiser has this year, they did not have that quarterback play last year, where I think Keiser can win in a lot of different ways. That's my opinion. You saw it yesterday. I mean, the run game was stifled quite a bit yesterday, Jason. I thought Benedictine did a tremendous job, and it was on Spencer to make plays, and he did. So I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup in this particular game, because the balance that Keiser has, the quarterback play, the ball can be thrown off play action, can be thrown in a drop back situation, and get the ball with those weapons that Keiser has. At the same time, I love the matchup on the perimeter with the cover players from Grandview. The outside linebacker, safeties, and corners, who I think are awesome, and it's going to match up with that speed and the tight ends, and it's a great football game. It's a great matchup. So I'm looking forward to this one, man. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I'll bring it up again. I think Waring is the X factor. I really do.
Yeah.
I think the Grandview offense, has the greatest challenge, in my opinion, because I think a lot of pressure is on them, because they've got to keep pace. I think Keiser will score points against Grandview. I don't think this is a high-scoring game, but I think Keiser will score points against Grandview. And I think it's going to be up to Waring in that offense to keep pace. I do believe that.
No, I would agree. I think, it is a little bit on Grandview's offense and Waring, how they're going to match up, because Keiser's got some beef up front. They're going to attack him up front. The quarterback power and everything that Grandview's been able to do with Waring. He's going to take some shots and he's going to get banged around, and how he's able to come out of that. And if they're going to be able to get those explosive plays, Toki had an explosive play. Van Pelt had explosive plays. That was the difference I felt like in watching Grandview against Morningside and maybe Grandview, let's say, against Friends early in the playoffs. They didn't really get those explosive plays. They just kind of methodically were able to get down the field and get the points they needed to win. Saw a little more explosion yesterday. I'll be interested to see if that can come along with Keiser. Keiser can't win this football game, though, if they have the rushing performance that they did against Benedictine. And I think Grandview has got a better rushing defense than what Benedictine does. So if Grandview is able to bottle up the Burnett, Miller, Meisinger world that is the backfield of Keiser, then Keiser's really going to have to rely on Spencer. And then, like you mentioned, Spencer's going to be seeing some DBs, probably the best defensive backfield that he's faced the entire year. So when he was able to thread that pass through this last week, get it into that small window, I don't know if that window's going to be there this week. So dude, I'm excited. I'm excited about this one because this is what the championship game should be. Here's a look at the starters for both teams. Now, this is based on who started the last game, first couple snaps of the game. I went through the tape, wrote them all down. All right, we got 59 there, 57 there, 32 here. So this is what the starting lineup looked like as we started the game this last week. Obviously, Waring versus Spencer at the quarterback position. Van Pelt and Tim Nimley at the running back position against Burnett and Miller. You get to the tight end, two very different tight ends. Wilcoxon is a guy that's going to block. He's going to get out. He's going to lead. He's going to catch some passes. But DeAndre Golden is not lining up in the same sort of position that Nate Wilcoxon is offensively. He's getting out in that slot. He's getting out into space. He's a big body that's going to get thrown to. They're not putting him on the end and down blocking with him much. They're two different sort of tight ends. Wide receiver wise, you've got some weapons there. You don't necessarily have one guy that you can say is top 5 receiver in the NAIA, but you've got 3 guys that definitely get it done and definitely get out there and are able to catch some opportune balls. And then it comes down to the offensive line on this one. You've got every single one of these guys for Grandview was an all-conference player, and I believe every single one of these guys for Keiser was an all-conference player. That's just what happens when you're the best team in the country. Your line is usually one of the reasons why, and both of these guys have got some studs matching up against one another. I mean, it is a nice-looking – either one of these offenses, you got some great players to choose from here and some great guys to watch.
No doubt. Outside the quarterbacks, which are incredibly obvious, Mr. Obvious statement of the year, those 2 guys the most important. I will pick out 2 other skill players that I think are really, really important in this matchup, Jason. I'm going to say Toki for Grandview. I think he has to make a big play or 2, like a touchdown, play action, 50-yard bomb, get behind Keiser for a touchdown in this game. I think it's absolutely essential for him to have a big game. And I'm going to kind of go to another Mr. Obvious. I think Golden is a matchup nightmare, even as good as Grandview is. He's kind of that guy. It's like he can do so many different things. He's a big frame kid. I think he's a good 6. Is he 6'4", 6'5"? I mean, he looks tall. I mean, he's a big, big frame. And you can see that Spencer places the ball behind him up high down. I mean, he can make all of those catches. That catch radius, coach term there, is extremely wide. I mean, you can place the ball in a lot of different places to him, and he made so many great plays yesterday. I think he is a really key factor because he's kind of a unicorn in that you just don't see guys that can do that at this level. I mean, he looks like a Division I or NFL type tight end and how he's used. He's out in the slot. He's in the backfield. He's playing traditional 3-point stances, the end-man line of scrimmage, has to block, goes out for passes, goes vertically. Those are the things that you see the big-time guys do, and he can certainly do that. So I think he's a matchup nightmare for the Vikings because they've not seen a guy like him that I can remember at least through their run. So I think those 2 guys, in addition to the quarterbacks, are huge key players to keep an eye on, and obviously the guys up front.
I don't disagree with your assessment on the offense for Keiser. I think Golden is going to be that matchup nightmare. I'll be watching very early on to see, what Coach Woodley and the Grandview defense decides to do and how they're going to match up with him, what they're going to do with him all over the field. And then offensively, I like your thoughts on Toki getting the big play. I think Grandview, just with how their offense has been this year and how sometimes, that passing game doesn't come out, I'm going to lean on their running backs. I'm going to say that, Van Pelt, Nimley, one of those guys has got to find a way to get loose and take some of that run pressure off of Jackson Waring from having to run quarterback power all the time. Make them think twice, when maybe he's doing a little read look, that he's going to give it to that guy and he's going to go for 20, 30 yards. Like just that half-second step to make them respect that run rather than just say, Yeah, where's Waring going? Follow that kid everywhere. That's where I'm going to go, with the offensive matchup. We'll flip over to the defense. Here's how things look. Now, these two defenses are a little bit different in how they line up. You're going to have Filer at an end, kind of in a rush position, and you're going to have Casey Trudeau a little bit more down in the stance, with four true defensive players on the front seven there. They play a little bit different where Brooks Gasell is going to be up most of the time, kind of playing like an outside linebacker, while Bam Brima is going to have his hand down in the ground. The noses, the inside tackles, that's playing pretty much the same. But these are some big dudes up front that can cause and wreak a lot of havoc. Linebacker-wise, you got John Argo, who's the Hart North Player of the Year on defense. You got Hunter Hargrave, who has been a tremendous football player for Keiser, All-American. Kinsley Johnson at safety, along with Davier Jones, who's been a heck of a ball player for Grandview and has really played some of his best football in the postseason, along with the rest of that defensive backfield. Davis Brown, Moore, Skylar James, those guys have been lights out. On the other side, you see the same thing for what Keiser has been able to do with their defensive back. So you've got two very good defenses and how they match up against the opposing team's offense there. That's what I'm trying to say. But again, like there's a lot of names on here that can make plays.
No question. And to me, they're similar in this way, Jason. I think they're incredibly stout inside. The interior defensive line is incredibly stout. And everybody else runs really, really well.
Yeah.
They run exceptionally well. So again, if you're stout inside, you're forcing things to speed. That's a good thing. If you're your defensive approach. And I will say this, I think these are the two best secondaries in the country, in my opinion. Of anyone that we have seen thus far, I feel that these are the two best in the back end. And honestly, maybe the two best, most talented defenses collectively. But I will say I think Grandview has the best defense. I do collect, top to bottom, those 11. But I think the Keiser secondary is legit. Those are the two best, I think. And this defense collectively, if you're Keiser, can really move. They can really run. And they can play a lot of different ways. I think this is going to be a pressure day for them. I think they're going to pressure Waring as much as they possibly can. I'm talking about Kaiser's defense, and put pressure on him. And I think Grandview is going to try to play this thing straight up, to be very honest with you, Jason. I don't think they have to do a lot of game playing. I think they can kind of line up and defend the run with their box players. And I think they feel confident enough to match up on the outside one-on-one with this receiving core for Keiser. So I think that's going to be interesting to see too, is kind of Grandview's approach, kind of maybe playing it more straight up, kind of their base looks, because they're so talented, they're so good and so well coached, and how they fit the run and how they defend pass collectively. Then I think Kaiser's got to be a little bit more game playing, maybe, if you will, to create some big play opportunities and defend Waring, because it's going to be a +1 running game all day for Waring, Jason. His last football game, I can guarantee that guy's going to carry it more than he ever has, if I had to guess, because it's so effective when he does. But I think now you're not holding anything back. You're going to be, run your best player, and Waring is certainly that for the Vikings. So I think Keiser, has to kind of look at that and say, we got to get more people in the box, got to bring more pressure, create some more, opportunity for us to make big plays and disrupt timing, disrupt run game, that sort of thing. You're muted, Jason.
Okay, I pushed the button. Okay, so the way that I see it, that's what happens when you cough behind the scenes. Yeah. The way I see it, that front seven, the 4 down linemen, your linebackers that we've got listed there, what you're going to see from them, each one of those guys is going to step up at some point, make a play. Filer's going to get in the backfield, get a tackle for loss. Brim is going to get in the backfield, tackle for loss. The logo is going to plug things up in the middle and, stop a run from being a long run and just shut it down. I think you're going to see that from Argo. He's going to get a tackle for loss, or he's going to knock a ball away. Same thing with Hunter Hargrave and Sheedy and Van. I think those corners, same thing. They're going to match up. They're going to make a play. They're maybe going to miss a play. I think the X factor in this game defensively will come down to Davier Jones and Kinsley Johnson. They're kind of the guys that will get up and run support. They will also get back in some pass protection. And what those guys are able to do in those free moments against two very good offenses, I think will be maybe the tide that swings this game just a little bit. And I think both of them are up for the task. Both of them are fine ball players. That's who I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is just an unbelievable two defenses. I mean, they're just incredible. They run exceptionally well. They're physical. They tackle well. Great scheme. I mean, this is going to be a challenge for these offenses to go against these guys. That's for sure.
100%. All right, we move forward and just take a little bit of a look here at how their seasons went. I mean, this is how they're undefeated. And one game that you kind of see that stands out a little bit here is that 89-0 win over Clark. That's kind of an anomaly here, but you go through and Grandview's defense been able to shut out and shut people down. It's been pretty crazy to watch what those guys have been able to do, all season long.
Yeah, we've talked about. I don't think there's ever been a team let's talk about this year, even the past 15 years, that have more shutouts than the Grandview Viking defense. I mean, it's incredible. I don't know what the national record is, if they keep that sort of thing over a period of time, but it's insane. You just don't see it, especially in today's modern game with scoring is so plentiful. But they're a throwback, and they defend the run well. They can man up and play great pass defense. They are a tremendous defense, without question.
Yeah, and then we get into the postseason here. Of course, Grandview had that close game against Friends and then beat Northwestern 17-0. A little bit more offense opened up here against Morningside. Keiser went out against Pikeville, put up 56, 38 against Georgetown, 42 against Benedictine. So Keiser has also been hammering through and getting their offense, getting some points. They've also been giving up some points here. So it's just like, where does this game go? Is this going to be that Grandview's going to score that 36 that we see? Or is Grandview's going to score that 17 but hold Keiser down to a 14 or 21 or something like that? It's going to be, I don't know which way it's going to go. Do you got any gut feeling on this one, Pat?
I think the team that wins scores 4 times.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I think it's going to be that low scoring, potentially. I think it's either 28-21, 28-24, something like that is kind of the high end for me. I don't see it getting into the 30s. I just don't see it. I may be wrong. I don't think so. That's, to me, it's like a race for 4 scores.
Yeah.
I think who wins the game. I really believe that. What offense, can keep pace with the other. Because here's the thing. I think if, for instance, if Grandview grinds out a nice 10-play drive, it's a bunch of wearing +1 running game, play action throws, things of that nature, and they get a score. Keiser's got to come back and answer, because I tell you what, you're not going to grind long drives on Grandview. I just don't see that. You got to get a big play. I think, again, I hope Spencer is healthy and able to go and be somewhat close to 100% in this game, because he's also an X factor too, Jason. Where I think he takes off a lot in their pass concepts. And as good as this Grandview defense is, and the secondary as good as they are, if they're blanketed, he'll take off and pick up 15. I mean, he does it time and time again brilliantly. So I think that is an X factor too. And I think even to the point where, if I had to say Grandview has a point of emphasis, is maybe run some spy, maybe like have a linebacker kind of on him, especially when they're playing, man to man. And they will, from time to time, Grandview will do that, is to say, hey, in long yard situations, we got to keep an eye on that quarterback on 16, because he can take off and kill you. You can have everything covered, and he takes off for 12, takes off for 10. I mean, all the time. So, I think that is a key thing as well. But I do think it's a race for 4 scores. Yeah. Who gets 4 scores wins the game. That's what I think.
Well, and I think, and I'm with you too, I think 4 scores, maybe 5. If we get into the 30s, it'll be a late score that gets us there. Yeah. I think, field goal to make it 31-28 or whatever. I think we're going to see a game like that. You mentioned, against Grandview, you don't see a lot of people grind and get those long drives. If there's a team capable of it, it may be Keiser, just with the way that they can run the ball. If they can get that push that they've been used to throughout this year and grind things out with, Burnett and Miller and Meisinger and their backfield that they could potentially have for this game, they have a possibility of doing that, especially with having Golden as a tight end target there. I think he opens things up a little bit for you. So I think that we're going to see an incredible game on Saturday. I don't know who I'm picking yet. I have my inkling. I'm not going to make a prediction on this show. This is also my way of getting the people that have watched this show to come back to the Victory Sports Network later this week for my preview article around the nation that'll hit the website on Tuesday, and that'll get my full analysis of this game. So, and I don't know, Pat. I don't know if you want to throw anything out there on a prediction or anything, but I'll definitely let you, if you so see fit here.
I first off, I think your analysis of is there a team that can grind a drive out on Grandview, brilliant. I think you're exactly right. If there is one, it's Keiser.
Mm-hmm.
I think you hit the nail on the head, my friend. Yeah, you act like you're a media guy. You're a football guy. You get this whole thing, man.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm a football guy that had become a de facto media guy because I got hit in the head too many times. So
yeah,
you don't get a head this fat not playing football and eating poorly.
No, but you're exactly right. So I think that is a key thing. Can Keiser grind out drives? I mean, I think that's a big part of it. I totally agree. As for a prediction, I want to know the status of Shea Spencer. That's the one thing that and Meisinger too. Which is, it hurts Meisinger. Is that pronunciation?
I heard that. I'm going Meisinger. I've said it that way the entire time. Might be Meisinger.
Yeah,
I can be wrong.
I'd love to see him available, Jason, and maybe even some short yard stuff. I don't know, what the injury really is for him.
Well, he did play. He did get in 3 plays in this last game, so
didn't look like himself.
Yeah,
and you kind of see him limping off. So I'm guessing it's lower body. Obviously, he's got a limp. But I think Spencer definitely his status is huge for any type of prediction. Man, I don't know. I can tell you this. I think it's a tight game. Obviously, I think it's a race to 4 scores. I've said that a few times now, and I think who can do that, who can score 28, I think wins the game. And I don't know who that is. And I'm looking forward to your prediction later in the week. Can't wait to watch this game. Looking forward to next week breaking it all down too.
The one thing I will point out, going back to the regular season, they have a common opponent.
Yeah,
Benedictine got beat by Grandview 52-28. Keiser beat Benedictine 42-38. Now, do not look at the difference in the scores between those games and just automatically go, well, Grandview's the better team. They're going to win this game. That was very early in the season. A lot of things have changed. I thought Benedictine was playing their best football in the postseason. So do not think just because that game was a little bit wider margin early in the season that this is just a game that's going to be a cakewalk for Grandview. And I will guarantee you that the folks in Des Moines that are running that team are reminding their players of that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Benedictine's a good team. Just because we beat them doesn't mean we're going to walk in down there and be able to handle Keiser. It ain't going to happen. This is going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it and looking forward at the. I'm going to be on pins and needles like you because honestly, I'm not really. I mean, I might reach out this week to get some injury status things, but it's not going to change how I'm going to look at this game. I'm just going to be looking forward to Saturday at 11 o'clock my time. Noon your time for the NAIA championship game. Now, to kind of help give people some information here, Pat,
mm-hmm.
A lot of people are guessing. Where are we going to watch the game? Is going to be on ESPN Plus. Can I watch it on ESPN Plus? Is it going to be on? No, it's not on those networks. This is where you're going to watch it at. Urban Edge Network is UEN, so you can Google Urban Edge Network, get all that information. You can search for it in the App Store from Apple. You can search for it in Google Play, the Urban Edge Network. You can also download it if you got Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, Fire TV, iOS, Android. You can download those apps and watch UEN live. It's free. There's no registration, anything like that. Or you can also download the NAIA Network app. The NAIA Network app will also have the game on there as well. So you've got 2 apps that you can download to watch the same game, but you are not going to go to your ESPN app, go to ESPN Plus and search this game and find it. You will not find it. You'll be frustrated. You're going to miss the first 20 minutes of the game until you finally Google and figure things out where the game is at. This is where everyone is going to have to watch this game. It is not nationally broadcast on a Fox Sports or an ESPN or an ABC or NBC or any of those places. It is going to be the future of TV, as I see it. I mean, the way I watch TV now, you're going to be watching it on one of these apps, okay? So if you are a fan of NAIA football, download these apps today, get registered, look forward to it so you're not, dinking around on Saturday trying to find out where to watch this game. Get them put onto your TV wherever you're going to be watching this, okay? So that's how you're going to watch the game. And
Jason, you just educated me. I had no idea. I still thought it was ESPN Plus. I was like, oh no, never mind.
I'm here to help. Well, see, that was my thought, because you had mentioned that last week, and I was like, I don't think that's right. So I looked into it, actually reached out to the Urban Edge Network. They sent me their logo, and they said, yeah, here's what you do. Here's where you're going to watch it. They are helping to develop and redevelop the NAI network. And going forward, most of the NAI championships, basketball, baseball, volleyball, all of those games are going to be on the NAI network. And I know the Urban Edge Network, they did have the announcement for the NAI postseason, and that didn't go great. Now, I will say I am friends with people that put on other championships in the NAIA, and they have said the championship broadcasts that have been put on since then, no problems. Things went great. So the NAI network is up and running well, and I hope that Saturday it will be able to do that as well. And let's not get into, I know I'll have some fans, why can't we get on ESPN? Dude, we've been saying that since I started doing this in 2002. It's happened a little bit. We get put on an app, you can't find it, they don't care, all the things that go along with that. Like, let's make this great, and everybody's got a smartphone, smart device, tablet, whatever. You're going to be able to watch this game. And most people aren't subscribing to cable as it is right now anyway, so it's going to be easier to watch it this way.
I still do.
You're the guy.
I know. Oh, it's so
you're
stupid.
The one guy.
So stupid, but I still do.
So this is again, everybody, how you're going to watch the game. Where's my phone? I gotta look at my phone here real quick, see if I heard anything back. So I did reach out to one of the announcers of the game.
It's not us.
No, it's not us. I do know one of the announcers. So Drew Felios used to be sports director at KOLN, KGIN in Lincoln, Nebraska, when I was kind of full-time media, kind of late 90s, early 2000s in that same area. So I can't say like I'm buddies with Drew. I don't know Drew all that well, but like we would be credentialed media at the same things.
Sure.
And he obviously had a much better job than what I did. I was a nobody and still continue to be a nobody in that world. But Drew Felios is the guy that's going to be calling the game. He called the game last year, I believe the year before as well. So he's called a couple. Yeah, he's called a couple NAI championships. So
I met him, Jason, when we were playing. I met him. He was calling our games.
Oh, nice.
16, 17. Yeah, really good guy. Really does a great job.
Yeah,
very, very informed of what NAI is, and he's done the national championship for some time. Very, very good.
Yeah, he's awesome. He'll do a good job. So it's one of those things where it's like, God, who are they getting to announce the game this year? Oh, Drew Felios is doing it again. Okay, cool. I like that. And my family will like that because I'm going to be at home for Christmas this next weekend. So I'm going to be watching this on one of my dad's TVs. And like the tie-in, they'll be like, most of them probably like, why are we watching this when such and such bowl game's on? I'll be like, because the former sports director of the channel you watch every night, Dad, is calling the game. And then we'll get a chance to watch it then. Sitting on the farm, finally with high-speed internet on the farm.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You had dial-up a couple months ago or what?
DSL, and then the satellite thing that only did up to like 10 meg or something like that. Now it is fiber optic, fast, high speed. So
awesome.
It is awesome, absolutely awesome. So that's what we got, man.
Into the 21st century, baby. I love it.
Dude, I tell you, for the last 15 years, it has been a struggle because my parents have wanted high-speed, decent internet, and it just hasn't been available. And then they've dropped fiber down the country road that we live on. And like we were trying to find out, like, okay, fiber's got dropped. Who's the company that's going to be piping the internet in there? And like we were one of the first people on the farm out there to get it, and they've had it for, I want to say, about 6 months now. And when you go home and like your phone ties into the network and everything still works, like I don't know if you've ever been to a place and you're on the internet, but you don't get anything because there's not enough internet to download all the stuff that's going through the network. Yeah, that's what it was like every time you went home. So you just tried to do everything on cellular, which was terrible, and this would be so much data. So yeah, but that is our preview on next week's championship game. and that is our look back at everything that happened in the semifinals. Did we miss anything, Pat?
I don't know. It was, with a lot of detail with both games, probably jumping around a lot. But I think we gave some opinions and thought of what we evaluated. I think it's a wonderful game. Going to be good stuff, man. Remind me again, did Durham extend a couple more years?
I believe this is the last year that Durham has it for sure. Next year is up for bid, and they have not announced a site. They are either looking for a site for 3 years or 2 years as of right now, because Durham re-upped for one. Like, I think Durham had it 2, they re-upped for 1. This is the 3rd year, so now it's kind of out there and it's been bidding. And I will be honest to the couple people that are viewing this. I looked into the process. I looked into the possibility of bringing the NAIA championship to Fargo, having it in the dome up here. It's quite a process, and my biggest thing is I want to make sure it can be done right. And it kind of opened my eyes a little bit to places like, the Fargo Dome, the Dome for the University of South Dakota, the Dome for Northern Iowa, what I think would all be great venues. The issue we run into is the FCS playoffs. The FCS playoffs are next weekend. Those sites can't really guarantee that you're going to have priority there. And you kind of want to be able to say with some certainty that our championship will be on this Saturday. And it's very tough, especially with, right now, NDSU will be hosting next Saturday. USD will not be. They're going to be going on the road. Northern Iowa in certain years have hosted games in this round, so it's tough to find kind of that domed Midwest environment. So I'm like many people out there. I'm very interested to see, is Durham going to re-up for another year? Could we be going someplace else? I've heard rumors. They're just rumors. I have nothing confirmed. You hear the same thing. Somebody in Florida, somebody in Texas, somebody in Alabama. Like, you hear the same thing. So I am, like everybody else, I have no more information than anybody else that they don't know for sure. Well, they might know. They haven't released publicly where next year's championship game is going to be.
I'm a big fan of the triangle. The Research Triangle, Durham, Raleigh, and Chapel Hill. Just beautiful part of the world. One of my favorite areas in our wonderful country. So I think it's a great area. I don't know much about the site. I've not got a lot of feedback from the coaches and their experience, because that is a big part of it. I mean, if there is, and this one, as the playoff expanded to the 20 teams, I think the whole bowl atmosphere for the national championship probably has had to diminish to some level because of the quick turnaround, I would guess. When you think, Jason, I wouldn't think it's going to be what it once was. We had the week off, get your game plan ready, go down to the site on a Tuesday night, for, Wednesday event, Thursday event, Friday dinner, Saturday game, like you and I did many, many times back in the day. I'm guessing it's a little bit different feel. But it is an experience for our student athletes too. I mean, the NAIA, it is a, and it's, it's for our student athletes to have experiences, and certainly the national championship is really the one that's kind of like the bowl game type atmosphere where you get to do some of the extra curriculars and things of that nature. So I wonder now, with it being such a quick turnaround, if it's that same way. I don't know.
Yeah. I know they have the banquet. I know they announced Player of the Year, and they do that. I don't think they do quite. You go back to when we were in Savannah, Tennessee, and like, hey, this day you're going to elementary schools. This day you're doing the tour of the Civil War sites. This day is the day of the banquet, and then we've got, the championship. And you kind of saw that in Rome, Georgia as well, and I think you saw that in Florida. My opinion on how the championship should be structured is not a popular one. I think it would work. Problem is, you're probably going to run into Christmas in most years, but I kind of feel like the NAIA needs to move the championship game to a Tuesday or Wednesday night. If you do it on a Monday, like they did last year, you're running into a couple bowl games, and you've got NFL football on it Monday night, and also noon on Monday. Like, that's just tough to do. I like that it's back on a Saturday. It's best case scenario for what they have, but I would really like to see it move to a Tuesday, play it at 7 o'clock at night, move it to a Wednesday, play it 7, 6 o'clock at night, whatever it may be. And then your teams, you've kind of got that whole week that you're back at your place, and then you're using a Friday, Saturday to travel. You're in on Sunday. You've got Monday and then Tuesday you're going for the game. So that's just kind of my unpopular opinion, that they don't go the full 2 weeks like we used to back in the day, but maybe you shorten it to a week and a half and you pick like what's going to make sense in the bowl schedule, and then you're not going up against the NFL. If you're going up against a bowl game, you're going up, the Reliant Bowl or whatever it might be that's randomly on a Tuesday. My dog was down here again, by the way.
The problem this year, it's up against Penn State SMU. That's the tough thing with the new Division I playoff system. So, and not that our game is niche compared to the national landscape that obviously Penn State would draw. But I'm with you. I think something unique like on a Tuesday night, I'm on board with. I think it's great. I mean, this year would be December 22nd. So you're kind of getting inching closer to Christmas. But I remember those days, Jason. You played the national championship, and we were fortunate recently to win 2 of them, and to come back, and it's like, oh, it's Christmas time. Oh, hey, it's time for Christmas. Yeah. And we won.
I did 0 shopping because I've been busy.
It was a great excuse, though. I said, honey, here's the thing. National championship. Yeah. That was a tough stretch and a tough run. But I got nothing for you for Christmas. But yeah, it's I'm with you though. I think having maybe one night and a non standard football night would be the way to go. But yeah, obviously we'll be watching.
Yeah, we'll be watching on Saturday. Everybody else is going to be going nuts, and I'll be on a different TV watching my little game. So that's fine. Yeah. I don't care.
It's a great football weekend though. My goodness, there's some great ones, and I think this NAIA National Championship will be one of the great ones as well. Not just the history of the NAIA. I think this is a great matchup. You just look at it and you're like, man, this is incredible. The great defense versus the great offense, but the other side of those two teams ain't too bad either, man. There's some athletic dudes, and it's going to be exciting. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to it. We need to probably wrap things up here. We've definitely gone longer than what we typically have. We turned this in from like, hey, we want to keep it less than an hour, to now it's like we need to keep it less than an hour and a half. If we just keep adding and talking, but some of the things we've added to the show have definitely been necessary, and I thank everybody for being a part of this show. Especially, do we no questions in the chat? A lot of comments, a lot of go Keiser and some things like that, but not really any questions to get to. I think most of it, it's kind of one of those Hayes in the barn sort of scenarios. Like, hey, we know who's in the championship. I know the people from Grandview are going to think Grandview is going to win. I know the people from Keiser are going to think Keiser's going to win. We'll find out who I think is going to win on Tuesday when I have my article come out. As we kind of wrap things up, housekeeping note, we will be on, at least I'll be on next Sunday. Are you planning on being on Sunday? Okay. So we'll do a recap show on Sunday. Last year we came on right after the game. It's going to be a little tougher this year. I mean, maybe I can pull something off. We'll see what the old internet is like on the farm. It should be good enough, but we'll talk about that. But for sure, next Sunday, do a recap. Hopefully have the winning coach on with us if we can make that happen. Sometimes it's just super tough to coordinate and everything. With that said, and with only one show left, I want to thank a few people. This year's gone tremendous for this show. We've had a lot of growth. We've had a lot of viewers. We've had a lot of coaches help us out, send us video. And I can't thank all the coaches in the NAIA enough for just simply sending us a video anytime that we request it. That has been tremendous. It's added to our knowledge, and it's added to everything that makes this show absolutely great. And the other person I got to thank, obviously, is you, Pat, what you bring to the show and how you've been able to help me in my dumbassery as it happens from time to time. I definitely appreciate you and your family for allowing you to have this time to do this, because as we know, neither you or I get paid a dime for doing this. We do this out of the love of NAIA football, and I appreciate you, man, and you coming on this little ride with me.
I appreciate it, buddy. I tell you what, man, you're a great friend. It's great to kind of reconnect. We've been friends for so long, but we don't see each other. We live, probably 800 miles apart, and we don't see each other. I haven't seen you in how many years, Jason? 15 years, so probably at least 15 years.
Whenever you guys played Jamestown, was that 2015?
Yeah, you're right. 2016.
Yeah, that was the last time. But that was the first time I'd seen you since 2010, 2011,
probably,
something like that.
So every 8 years we see each other. So hopefully maybe we can get together at some point. But
maybe next year.
This is great. And I appreciate it. It keeps me in the game, man. I love it. I love my time as a coach, and I love being involved in the sport in the NAIA. And I'm out of it. I mean, I sell sporting goods. That's what I do to a lot of NAIA schools, or to an NAIA school and some others. But it keeps me engaged, and I do love the sport. I love this level of football, and it's been just awesome experience for me these last, I guess, year and a half we've been doing this, and it's been a blast. And appreciate the viewers that and listeners that are involved. By the way, the podcast is awesome too. I enjoy that sometimes. You kind of listen back to the podcast. We have that available as well. And it's been great, and I certainly appreciate your work. You work 50 times more at this than I do, and you're a true professional. You're fantastic at it, both on this show, on the website, the written form of. You got a lot of talents, my man. You're good at a lot of things, and it's the website's back and going strong, better than ever. And this show has been a pleasure. So can't thank you enough for allowing me to jump on, man. Appreciate it.
No, it's awesome. Thanks, obviously, to all the viewers and everybody that have made this great, the coaches, and yeah, it's been. I love it, man. I'm glad we get to do it. We're going to keep doing it. I know there may be some people out there don't like our opinions or our thoughts on teams. That's fine. And you can be like Pat and I. If you don't like what is being said about NAIA football, just start a show. We'll promote you. We'll say, hey, check out those guys too. Why not? But no, it's been great, and I appreciate all the work that you put in. And with all the babbling that we've done here these last couple minutes, we could probably wrap things up.
Sounds great.
All right,
got a big one here in a few days, buddy. It's gonna be fun. Quick turnaround.
Yeah. NAIA Football National Championship is next Saturday at noon Eastern, Durham, North Carolina. Keiser University taking on Grandview University. Be sure you download the NAIA Network app or the Urban Edge Network app to be able to watch the game. That's where you're going to find it. We'll have all the information on victorysportsnetwork.com for you able to make sure that you're getting in the right place. For Pat Donnelly, I'm Jason Dannelly. This has been NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley from the Victory Sports Network. Get on out there, enjoy some NAIA football, and have a good one this week. Oh, yeah. And check you later.